Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Dennis and welcome back to Racer or Random SCP Review. And this is entry number 25. This is part 2 out of 2 part, I think. We'll see. But yeah, it's supposed to be, closing in this one. This is entry 25, SCP-2260 or SCP-2260. This is called Traveler's Journal. And the deal with this SCP is that this SCP is just a book, pretty much, or a journal in which, if you write a place, location, the time maybe, and the duration of what you want to do there, then you will be, you will be gone into coma, and you will actually start a dream sequence probably. I still not sure if it's like a dream, but maybe it is actually just a dream, like a dream sequence. So I'm just gonna call that dream sequence. And what's gonna happen in the dream sequence is pretty much you will be in the location that you have written. You will be in the time of the time of your designation, or designated place, and then after that, you will also experience the event that you also have written in the book as well. And once you're done with entire thing, the writing in the book will disappear. So, at this point, who knows how much have been recorded in the book. However, from the previous one, as you can see over here, addendum 2268, this is pretty much everything that has been recorded about the testing about the SCP. And yes, if you ask me, I feel like this is not at all a lot. This is just few, um, which is kind of surprising because I feel like this kind of stuff they could have experimented this along, or maybe just reveal the rejected journal or place and time of traveling, right? So that we know which plan got cancelled or prohibited. Maybe it's a little bit too dangerous. Maybe it will create a loop, what is it called again, what is it, like, if there is a loophole, paradox, yeah, if it creates a paradox or something like that. So maybe it's not actually permitted by Dr. Matthews. So yeah, but still though, I feel like since this is the SCP, I feel like they should have also mentioned or recorded all the list of plans that are rejected and the reason why as well. So yeah, um, let's continue. Addendum 2260B. Okay, so this is B. I haven't actually seen anything that mentions B. Well, also A as well. The one that is referred is this one, Addendum 2260D, which will read after this as well. Okay, 2260p. The book was initially found in the possession of Mr. James Richards. Yeah, maybe James Richardson. Okay. Um, Referred to as SCP-2260-1. Okay. 2260-1. Oh, okay. So the owner is called Dash One. Interesting. Had written the entry about going to Hawaii. It is presumed that because he specified a time that will end upon his demise, he will never wake up from 2260. Okay. Testing has been done on his vitals while in the comatose state. 2260 keeps all brain activity normal and appears to regulate heartbeat and other vital organs. I mean, it also regenerates cell structure 10 times quicker than that of a normal human. Dash 1 has been put in the cryogenics area in Sector C for further testing. Okay. Um, A time that will end upon his demise. Okay, he will never wake up from. Oh, I see. So the owner pretty much says that he goes to Hawaii and it's also the time that he will die, uh, probably, and then that he will never wake up. Well, not really die necessarily. It just maybe he just mentions that he will never wake up from 2260, but he's still alive. So that's maybe create what is called like a paradox probably. Like a because he just mentions about not gonna wake up, right? Meaning that there is so many interpretation. Maybe he actually survives, maybe he dies, who knows? But the book maybe does not necessarily refer that to as dying, meaning that the person is not dead just yet. Unlike the previous one, like for instance this one going into Germany and then like getting shot in the head pretty much. I feel like it's not like that necessarily. So it means that Hawaii is probably his heaven probably. I don't know. Maybe right. And then yeah. So pretty much they die. Kinda, not really. I mean, well, it got mentioned here that the heartbeat is still fine. Yeah, the all brain activity normal, and then heartbeat is normal, or vital organs normal, and yeah, on his vitals while in the comatose state, pretty much. And then after that, because he never wakes up, like literally as he said or written in the book, so it's not necessarily that he's dead. That's why um, they the foundation decided to put the person into cryogenic for further testing. Maybe just maybe in the future, they will do experiment about going into Hawaii and meeting this person like Mr. James and ask him to come back to life, maybe, right? So that might actually happen. We'll see if the creature will actually, I mean, the creator, not the creature, the creator will actually consider that into, like updated or DLC pretty much about this SCP in the future. So we'll see, okay? But that might actually be a great premise, or I mean, premise of a story pretty much, which is kind of interesting. Next, we have Addendum 2260. See, as it appears that 2260 causes addiction in some subjects. Researchers are advised to exercise caution when using a subject for multiple tests. Okay, I see. Multiple D-class subjects have made requests to reuse 2260 despite risk of bodily harm. Okay, so the book has this kind of property that it will leave a mark in the person's or the people's brain that already use this into inviting back into the dream still pretty much, or the dream world, which is kind of scary if you ask me. This can actually make it look like that this SCP is actually sentient, because it attracts people to do something. So yeah, I feel like this might be a sentient book if you ask me. um, One D-class subject repeatedly said, "Give me the book," and refused to eat, sleep, or even move until further testing was performed on them. Okay, unfortunately, we don't see the result of this. Like, maybe I'm just hoping that there's also additional information about why the D class or people that have been there, want to go back there. Like what are they feeling? Like, are they just feeling, like impulsive about coming back? Want to go back to the book, or that something actually orders them to do so, right? That's actually interesting thing to experiment, which unfortunately we don't have this as information. So again, maybe the creator actually wants to put this like again like DLC, probably you think about it, not necessarily actually literally DLC, but more like like a edited version of this SCP, which is I would say would be interesting. Okay, so let's see again here what we have. Addendum 2260D. The goal of this experiment was to test what happens when a subject enters a secondary 2260 while inside 2260. Yeah, like Inception pretty much. Okay, there were two medical personnel at hand, three security personnel, two research assistants, and Dr. Matthew was present to facilitate the experiment. I feel like this entire thing is, got the reference from Inception, like a dream inside a dream. Yeah, we'll see what's gonna happen here. So timeline of 2260 experiment log age 45. Timeline of experiment 0 minutes, subject went into unconsciousness and brain activity remained normal. 4 minutes, brain activity doubles and regulation of vital organs and heartbeat doubles as well. 10 minutes, subject begins to perspire heavily. 15 minutes, perspiration, I don't know what that means, of sweat turns into perspiration of blood, okay. 25 minutes, subject's brain activity and regulation doubles again, making bodily functions quadruple their normal speed. It is assumed that subject entered 2260 again while inside the secondary 2260. Okay. 32. Brain begins to swell and subject begins to become pale. Okay. 35 minutes, heart fails, stomach lining bursts from excess gastric acid. Okay. 36 minutes, attempts were made to erase the entry from 2260. Entry reappears each time. Okay, that's okay, interesting. Meaning that once it's been written, you cannot cancel that. Okay. Medical personnel were attempting to revive subject by using a defibrillator. Okay. Subject is revived. Okay. Brain activity recedes by half. Regulation of vital organs half as well. Stomach lining heals due to SCP-2260's normal effects. Okay. Subject awakens. Entry fades from 2260. Okay, that's actually interesting. So it just keeps looping. It keeps looping pretty much. It's kind of interesting. Um, Immediately following experimentation, subjects showed several mental strain and could not properly respond to verbal commands or visual stimuli. Subject was put into psychological counseling for 2 months. An interview was conducted immediately after the 2 months expired. Okay, let's see the experiment. What is it called again? Interview. Okay, interview of D6795 on 9. Okay, we have never actually mentioned about when this SCP was created. I'm just gonna presume that this is SCP 2200, so this is probably like 2014, maybe 2015, perhaps. I'm not sure. Let's say 2015. I will also presume that this is September because the ninth month, date, year. Okay, so this is September. Like, let's see here. 10th of September 2015. Okay, interview was conducted by Dr. Matthews. Begin log. Dr. Matthews, hello D6795. Hi, how are you doing today? Fine. Can you tell me what happened when you rode into 2260 that day? I went in and you were there, and the people who were there to watch were there too. But they were different, they were blank, blank. I see. Can you tell me what happened when you wrote in 2260 in that room? I couldn't control myself. My hand picked up the pencil and I wrote. The world spun. I woke up in the same room and the world it just 6795 begins to sob. Please continue. The word screamed at me. It screamed at me to write and write. I did. I followed your instruction. Why do you keep yelling at me? Um, Begins hitting himself on the head repeatedly. Stop the interview. Okay, that's interesting. Huh. So I think what happened here is that just like your regular dream, that sometimes, not sometimes, the people inside your dream is not actual people, right? They are not actual people. They're just there to fill into your imagination, or to fill up the scene, the scenery. They're never actual people, just like when you're dreaming. So I think what happened there is that it's like that, like the people actually, like, it's just people but having no soul, pretty much. Okay, that's the first one, the first theory. Second was, um, I think we have another instance that there is the case where the dream state actually realized that the people, the person is there while waking up. So I feel like what happened here, the word scream, I feel like what is it called? I feel like the dream which this person enters to kind of awares that like the person is there, that the person is not from there. I feel like it kind of awares, and like that's why it's yelling. So I feel like that's what happened there. And it's just looping. It's just looping back, which is kind of scary if you ask me. Like if you dream inside your dream, like if you're dreaming, the person there is not real. And then what happen if you dream inside like a unreal world, right? Like how unreal it can be, like at some point it's gonna be like very weird and this kind of stuff. So I feel like that's what happened here, but who knows, right? Anyway, addendum 2260E, other experiments. Experiment on 3 4, that's 4 of March, 16, maybe 2016, after this thing happened. Okay, entry was written on a loose leaf paper and inserted into SCP-2260. No effect took place. And it was written on a loose leaf paper and inserted. Oh, okay, so okay, so they try to like to try to experiment if you can actually add usually. Okay, this is interesting because when I was in high school and in university as well, I have this book, right? And then sometimes I also write in a piece of paper, and then I insert that book, I mean the paper, inside the book, right, as additional info, pretty much additional page. The thing is that that does not, take effect here with this book, meaning that only the original book will have the property, which is interesting. Experiment on 17th of May, 16. Entry was written in 2260 and the page was immediately torn out. There was no change to 2260's normal effects. Okay, this is interesting as well. Okay, so there is no change to 2260's normal effects, meaning that you still go under subconscious, maybe, I'm not sure. It says there is no change, right? Meaning that the effect still the same, meaning that the dream sequence still happens. I think what happened there. Okay, um, what about the torn out page as well though? Like, does it recover itself? Like does the page actually, like the torn out pages disappears and then new page just recovers from the torn out book? Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, and then experiment on 23rd of June, 16 as well. The entry was written and immediately black out. Words in the entry burned through the ink, and were visible after 9 seconds. Okay, burn through the ink. Oh, I see. So once it, okay, so you cannot pretty much blacken out. So you cannot remove or erase. You cannot also cover that with more writing, or just black out that writing, which is interesting. Experiment 15th of July 16, the entry was written and the page was carefully burned so as to not burn 2260. Once the page was burned away, the entry appeared on the next page. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Also, I'm kind of curious as well if the page actually recovers, or, like remember that this book only has 200 pages. So like if you want to destroy these pages, make sure that you're aware that there's only 200 pages, right? So you only have 200 experiments on destroying this book pretty much, until it, until what God, until God knows what happened, right? Experiment on 7th of August, okay, 16, an entry was written without an event specified, and one subject became unconscious. A secondary subject wrote in an event. Secondary subject also fell into consciousness, and when subjects simultaneously awoke, they claim to have seen each other at the location. That's interesting, actually. Okay, so this is interesting, meaning that you can actually visit Mr. The whoever the person was, the original owner of the book, this one, Mr. James, to you know just to ask Mr. James to go back into reality. I feel like, which is interesting, right? So with this experiment, So it is actually possible to do that, okay, or at least just to see Mr. James in Hawaii, like whether or not he, can be saved, or can be back from the book. Who will see, okay? I mean, who knows? Not will see. Experiment on 13th of August 16. Based on previous experiment, two subjects were dedicated to simultaneously write two different entries. Both subjects became unconscious and woke up at the time specified in the entries. When the subjects woke up, they claimed the location had merged and residents of the location were glitchy. Okay, let's stick to one entry from now on, Dr. Matthews. Um, Okay, so things, okay, if you write the same time, it will happen. Okay, so pretty much what it says is that this book only fits into one space dimension, right? Into one space and into one point of view of the person, meaning that, yeah, if there's two people that also writes different place, it will be merged into one, so yeah, it actually great that the person actually don't die, the people that doing the experiment, because if you ask me, I feel like what happened there is that the person, the people, the two subjects actually collide into each other as well, like they merge into one, which is kind of, like a disgusting if you ask me, right? Or just horrible thing. Glad that that didn't happen though. Glad that it only affect the surrounding or environment. So okay, that's interesting, and that's the end of the SCP. There's still so many experiments that I feel like should be explained. Maybe again, maybe the creator will do that in the future. Who knows from now, right? um, Especially if you take a look over here, the date is actually the year. As you can see, it begins with one, meaning that it happens in 2010s, right? But today it's already been 2020s, meaning that at some point this experiment will have to be adjusted to, like a, let's say maybe like um 27th of January 23, for instance, right? To blank or to black out square, like you can presume it's 23, right? So I feel like that can actually happen. Yeah, like we'll see. Okay, the fact that the creator actually only blacken out, or like black out the last digit of the year, meaning that at some point in the future the creator will actually like make more experiments into this, which will be interesting, I would say. So but that's just hopeful though. I mean, just my hope about this one, because this one has potential, I would say. This is interesting. Yeah, like it's pretty much the book of what is it called again in religious stuff, like the book of life, right? It's everything that's written there, it's gonna happen. So like it's yeah, it's pretty much like the destiny book, I think. What is it called again? Like the book of, yeah, the book of life, or the destiny book, right? A book where it records everything that has happened and that will happen, what will happen, and yeah, stuff like that. So interesting concept. I like this SCP. Rating is 54, which is not bad, I would say. 54, meaning that some people actually read this SCP and they actually review this and give rating. Usually with SCPs, like especially in thousands of SCP entry, I feel like the rating they are like like I feel like they are somewhat about 20s or less, perhaps. Like maybe even one digit rating, but having this 50 halfway through 100 rating, I feel like that's already great in its own. Especially when this SCP actually is not a whole number. Well, I mean, 60 is a whole number, but not like SCP-2200 or SCP-2300 or SCP-2000, like that whole number. So 2260, I feel like it's not really that whole number. So having this rating at 54 is actually great, I would say. Just for like random entry number, right? So yeah, like this one again, I'm hopeful for the creator to actually update this. Again, there is so many stuff that this can be improved or just to tell story even further, right? Or maybe having it associated with other SCP as well, like again, like I said, you can just make experiment as simple as the test location event will be learning about SCP something, right? SCP other number. So, like for instance, there are so many SCPs that we don't know just yet the origin of. So they can use this SCP to know or learn about the nature of that SCP, right? So yeah, I would say that it will be interesting pretty much. Okay, anyway, a little bit for this one. This has been Racer Random SCP Review. This is entry 25th, entry 25, part 2. And yes, I know that I said I want to make SCP 25, or I mean 25th SCP entry that we'll discuss to have something, right? Something unique that I pick my own SCP. But unfortunately, I'm kind of busy at the moment making lots of videos and contents, and I don't really have time to think about which SCP that I want. So I'm just gonna let it roll by the RNG gods, pretty much, the RNGesus. And yeah, anyway, that'll be it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay safe, stealthy. I will see you again a few days from now in the next SCP entry. But until then, see ya.